Imagine a moment that stops your heart for a split second, when someone you love has been silently carrying a burden, and you only realize it when it's almost too late. This isn't just any story. It's an emotional journey that will make you hold your breath, crack a small smile, and maybe even shed a tear. Get ready, because this tale will pull you into the hearts of two true friends, Taehyung and Jungkook. What happens when Taehyung uncovers Jungkook's hidden struggle? Don't stop reading. The ending will leave you speechless. Picture a roller coaster of emotions, where every twist reveals a deeper layer of their bond. Every quiet moment hums with unspoken words, and every tear glimmers with hope. This is a story of friendship tested by silence, strengthened by loyalty, and healed by understanding. Buckle up. It's going to be a ride you won't forget. It was a biting, windswept night in Seoul. The kind where the cold seeps into your bones no matter how many layers you wear. Taehyung sat sprawled across his apartment sofa, a blanket draped loosely over his legs. His fingers traced the rim of a ceramic mug, the tea inside long since cooled to an unappealing lukewarm. His gaze was fixed on his phone, lying silent and dark on the coffee table. 3 days. 3 whole days since Jungkook had last replied to his messages. Normally, the golden magne was a whirlwind of energy. His responses instant, playful, bursting with life. A bunny emoji here, a quick young, I'm busy later, okay? There. But now? Nothing. Just an empty void where Jungkook's presence used to be. Taehyung shifted uncomfortably, his mind racing. Maybe he's caught up with practice, he mumbled to himself, his deep voice barely audible over the hum of the heater. He wanted to believe it, clung to the thought like a lifeline. But deep down, his heart whispered a different truth, one he wasn't ready to face. The unease gnawed at him all night, turning his dreams into fragmented flashes of Jungkook's laughter, his voice, his tired eyes. By morning, Taehyung couldn't take it anymore. He grabbed his keys, threw on a coat, and drove through the bustling streets of Seoul to the small, tucked-away studio where Jungkook often holed up to practice alone. The city blurred past him, neon signs, honking cars, pedestrians bundled in scarves, but his focus was singular. He needed to see Jungkook, to know he was okay. When he arrived, the studio door creaked open under his push, revealing a dim, empty space. No music, no rhythmic tapping of dance steps, no Jungkook. Just silence. His eyes landed on a pair of worn-out sneakers in the corner, Jungkook's favorite pair, the ones he swore brought him luck. They sat there, laces untied, as if abandoned in a hurry. Taehyung's stomach twisted. "Where is he?" he whispered, the question hanging heavy in the air. He paced the room, running a hand through his dark hair, trying to piece together what could have happened. Had Jungkook gone home? Was he at the dorm? Just as doubt began to spiral, his phone buzzed sharply in his pocket, jolting him out of his thoughts. A message from Jimin lit up the screen. "Tae, get to the hospital now. Jungkook. He collapsed last night." The words hit like a punch to the chest. Taehyung's heart stopped, then raced wildly as his hands fumbled with the phone. Hospital? Collapsed? His mind spun, a chaotic mess of fear and disbelief. He didn't remember the drive, didn't recall weaving through traffic or parking haphazardly outside the sterile white building. All he knew was the pounding in his chest and the singular, desperate need to reach Jungkook. Bursting into the hospital, Taehyung found Jimin in the corridor, leaning against the wall. His usually bright eyes were red-rimmed, his small frame slouched with exhaustion. "Jimin, what happened?" Taehyung's voice trembled, raw with panic. Jimin looked up, his expression a mix of worry and guilt. "He's exhausted, Tae. The doctor said he pushed himself too far. He didn't tell us anything. He's been sleepless for days, maybe weeks. Just practicing, singing, working until his body gave out." Jimin's voice cracked, and he rubbed his face with his sleeve. "We should have noticed. I should have noticed." Taehyung's world tilted. Jungkook, bright, invincible Jungkook, had been breaking apart, and none of them had seen it. Guilt clawed at his throat as he stumbled toward Jungkook's room, pushing the door open with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. The sight inside stopped him cold. Jungkook lay on the hospital bed, his golden skin drained to a ghostly pale, and 4 lines snaked from his arm, dripping fluids into his system, and a faint beep from the monitor punctuated the silence. His eyes were closed, but his brow was furrowed, as if even in sleep he couldn't escape the weight he'd been carrying. Taehyung sank into the chair beside the bed, his legs giving out beneath him. He stared at Jungkook, taking in every detail, the faint shadows under his eyes, the way his lips parted slightly with each shallow breath. "Why didn't you say anything, Kook?" he whispered, his voice breaking into 1,000 jagged pieces. "Why didn't I see it?" Memories flooded him unbidden, late-night talks where Jungkook's laughter had filled the room, the way he'd pushed through rehearsals with a grin even when his legs shook, the quiet moments when Taehyung had caught him staring into space, lost in thought. Had there been signs? Had Jungkook been hiding his exhaustion behind that bright smile all along? Taehyung's hands clenched into fists. He should have known. He was Jungkook's Hyung, his best friend. How had he missed this? The silence in the room pressed down on him, thick and suffocating, until a soft rustle broke it. Jungkook's eyes fluttered open, slow and heavy, as if waking from a deep, reluctant slumber. "Hyung!" His voice was a faint rasp, barely above a whisper, but it carried that familiar warmth. A weak smile tugged at his lips and Taehyung's breath hitched. He lunged forward, grabbing Jungkook's hand with a grip that was both desperate and tender. "You're awake. God, Kook, you scared me half to death." His words tumbled out, a mix of relief and lingering fear. Jungkook chuckled, a soft, fragile sound that barely reached the air. "Sorry, Hyung. I didn't want you all to worry. I thought I could handle it myself." Taehyung shook his head fiercely, his eyes brimming with tears he refused to let fall. "You idiot. You don't have to handle anything alone. You've got me, you've got all of us. Don't ever do that again, please." His voice cracked, raw and pleading. Jungkook's gaze softened, and he studied Taehyung for a long moment, as if seeing him for the first time. Then with a small, tired nod, he whispered, "I promise, Hyung." That simple word broke the dam. Taehyung's tears spilled over, hot and unstoppable, as he leaned forward and pulled Jungkook into a careful, trembling hug. The four-line tugged slightly, but he didn't care. He needed to feel Jungkook there, alive and breathing. "You better recover fast, Kook," Taehyung murmured against his shoulder, his voice thick with emotion but laced with a teasing edge. "I miss hearing you sing in the bathroom, making a racket, waking everyone up with that voice of yours." Jungkook let out a weak laugh, his chest shaking faintly under Taehyung's hold. "Deal, Hyung. I'll serenade you soon, promise." His words were light, but they carried a weight of sincerity that settled deep in Taehyung's chest. Outside the room, the other members had gathered, peering through the small window in the door. Jimin stood with Hoseok, whose usual sunshine smile was tempered with quiet relief. Namjoon lingered at the back, arms crossed, his sharp eyes softened by the scene unfolding inside. Jin rested a hand on Youngi's shoulder, the older rapper's stoic face betraying a flicker of emotion as he watched Taehyung and Jungkook. They didn't interrupt, didn't need to. This was a moment for the two of them, a silent testament to a bond that had weathered storms none of them had fully understood until now. Taehyung pulled back, wiping his face with his sleeve, and gave Jungkook a lopsided grin. "You look terrible, you know that? Like a ghost." Jungkook smirked, his energy returning in small bursts. "Says the guy who's been crying like a drama queen." Taehyung laughed, a real full laugh that echoed in the sterile room, and for the first time in days, the weight on his chest lifted. The days that followed weren't easy. Jungkook's recovery was slow, marked by restless nights and stubborn attempts to push himself too soon. But Taehyung was there, unwavering, bringing him soup Jin had made, playing silly games on his phone to keep him distracted, humming melodies when Jungkook couldn't sleep. The others pitched in too, filling the hospital room with quiet chatter and warmth. And through it all, Taehyung watched Jungkook heal. Not just his body, but the part of him that had tried to carry the world alone. One evening, as the sun dipped below Seoul's skyline, casting golden light through the window, Jungkook sat up in bed, strumming an imaginary guitar. "Hyung," he said suddenly, his voice stronger than it had been in weeks. "When I'm out of here, let's write a song together. Something about this." He gestured vaguely at the room, at them. Taehyung tilted his head, then smiled. A slow, radiant thing that lit up his eyes. "Deal. But you're not allowed to collapse mid-chorus, got it?" Jungkook grinned, and in that moment, Taehyung's heart, once shattered, felt whole again. They'd come through the dark together, and that's where the magic of their friendship shone brightest. In the silence of shared struggles, the laughter of recovery, and the tears that bound them closer than ever.